East Sepik leaders push for investigation into missing millions. Lutheran University calls for investigations into its administration. Deputy opposition leader urges the government to remove tariffs on goods.
This is National EMTV News with Tokana Hasavi.
This is Wednesday's news. Good evening and thanks for your company. Member for Yanguru South Sia and Minister for Trade, Commerce and Industry, Richard Maru, believes there is a crime syndicate that exists in the East Sepik province. He said this at a media conference today, following allegations that 1.2 million kina allocated to refurbish the Boram General Hospital in East Sepik province was stolen. The 1.2 million kina allegedly stolen was part of the 2 million kina allocated by the Prime Minister for the hospital.
Minister for Trade, Commerce and Industry and Yanguru South Sia MP Richard Maru was with board chairman of the Boram General Hospital, Alan Bird, at the media conference this morning. Mr. Bird explained that the national government gave Boram 2 million kina for maintenance of its old infrastructure. The funds were placed in the custody of the East Sepik Provincial Administration. Mr. Bird said the hospital board authorized the use of part of these funds to buy a new X-ray machine. But unknown to them, he said over 1.2 million kina was paid to a contractor under the pretext of doing maintenance work on one of the toilets at the hospital.
The thing I find incredible is that at no point did anyone receive any authorization from anybody in a position of authority to expend these funds. Certainly, no one from the hospital authorized the use of these funds. That decision was taken in secrecy, in some hidden place within the provincial administration.
He said the hospital board can only award contracts up to a maximum of 500,000 kina. Mr. Bird said he tried to get answers from the provincial administration as to why the payment was cleared through the banking system without prior checks with the hospital acting CEO or the board chairman.
We wrote a letter to the acting administrator to ask him to explain, and a copy of that letter is provided for you, what happened to these funds. To date, we have not received a response from the acting provincial administrator.
Mr. Maru said someone in the provincial treasury cleared and released the payments to the so-called contractor. He described this as a crime syndicate at work.
It's people with self-interest like this and thieves that have stifled the development of our province for the last 40 years. If we make a start by cleaning the province now, by investigating and bringing to justice those involved in stealing millions and millions of our provincial government funds.
Mr. Maru said he will work with authorities to ensure those implicated will be brought to justice. All evidences have been provided to the police. Investigations will take about 4 to 6 weeks. Delhi Bagu, National EMTV News.
The Lutheran Anti-Corruption and Restoration Unit now wants the Lutheran University's administration to be investigated by the Task Force Sweep team. They are supporting the call made by Minister for Higher Education Malakai Tabar for the university's administration to report its operations to the government. The Anti-Corruption Unit said there are no tangible progresses on developments at the proposed campuses at Martin Luther Seminary and Barlib Teachers College in Leh. NTV's Siva Sagawi has more on this report from Leh.
This is one of the proposed campuses for the Lutheran University of Papua New Guinea. Since the groundbreaking ceremony, millions of kina of state funds were pumped into the establishment of this university. However, disputes within the different working committees of the university has delayed work on building infrastructures.
There is a 19 million funding gone into Lutheran University.
What now the Lutheran Church is asking for is for the police commissioner to intervene and set up an independent investigation into the administration of the university.
We call on the police commissioner to uphold his constitutional duty, now execute his role, now come in. We demand Task Force Sweep to come in because this time Lutheran University is talking about state funds.
The Lutheran Anti-Corruption and Restoration Unit has already presented a report on several issues within the church to the police commissioner last year. Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil also joined them in calling for investigations into the whereabouts of the millions of kina of state funds.
The call was for the audit of the monies, millions of kina that has been spent or been donated, been spent by the Somalia government, even the O'Neill government, to the so-called the executives of the Lutheran University. So we are demanding that there should be an investigation, and we want to know where all those millions of kina went to.
What the anti-corruption unit claims is corruption at its highest level, using the Lutheran Church to misappropriate public funds.
Since 2010, 12, every 2 years or 14, 16, casino, there's no proper report coming in from the Lutheran University. So we support the minister's call that there must be a report. But the bottom line is there is corruption.
EMTV also understands that in fightings within the ELC, PNG and the Good News Lutheran Church administrations have delayed progress of work on the new university. Sylvester Gawi, National EMTV News, Ley.
Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil has called on the government to remove tariffs on rice and tinned fish to reduce the high cost of living. He also called on the National Lands and Physical Planning Department to work with Lae's landowners to turn customary land into planned suburbs. His response comes after more middle-income earning Papua New Guineans continue to move into settlements to escape the high cost of living in the commercial area.
Be tax-free, for example, rice, tin fish.
The Deputy Opposition Leader has called for a more decisive approach for the high cost of living in towns and cities around the country. He suggests to cut tariff on rice and tin fish to make them affordable. It comes amidst increasing public pressure from Lae residents that the cost of living is still very expensive. Sam Basil sees producing PNG-made products in the local agricultural sector as a means to reduce the cost of food in shops.
And we are now facing a lot of problems. We can't grow our own rice. We cannot provide pork and beef cheaply in Papua New Guinea. Lamb flaps is taking the market. So those are the issues that the Trade and Industry Minister, the Prime Minister and the rest of the Cabinet should think about, making sure that we make the lives of Papua New Guineans easier.
The high cost of living in Lae's commercial area has forced many families into the outskirts of the city. Like other towns and cities throughout the country, young families are leasing off land from customary landowners and raising their children. Judith Simeon is the wife of a Papua New Guinean chemist. She and her husband are raising 3 children on a block of land just outside the Malahang Industrial Center to escape the high cost of living in the commercial area. But the land they've built their home on is also being sought after by developers.
Rightfully, come in one time all proper ground, pay, sit down. So must get proper dealings one time all settlers.
Sam Basil, the Morobian leader, has called on the National Lands and Physical Planning Department to work with local landowners to plan their customary land into suburbs.
Properly mapped out so that they can be ready with utility services, just like putting in power, water, and to ensure that we've got allotments available so people can and businesses can go and thrive in those environments. At the moment, we do not have any.
Local landowners will remain as the sole owners of their land, while affordable homes can be built for Papua New Guineans in a planned settlement. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, Lae.
As the Pacific Games draws near, people have been advised to be more mindful of where they throw their rubbish. Littering in public is becoming an eyesore, and concerns have been raised for people to be more responsible. Tabari Place in Baroko is one attractive venue where traditional artifacts are displayed on sale, and a handful of women say they will continue to clean the place to make it welcoming for visitors.
The Pacific Games is 3 months away, and concerns about littering are still a big worry for many city residents. While NCD Governor Powes Pakop is determined to make the nation's capital clean and welcoming, residents are not mindful of how they dispose of their rubbish. Betel nut spittle, plastic bags and empty containers are an eyesore on many streets. Tabari Place at 4 Mile is a popular meeting place for many where traditional artifacts and colorful Mary blouses are sold. 6 women vendors who sell bottles of water at the bus stop have now taken up the task of cleaning the place.
All police work around me blood is like cleaning area good until this like game come up. We block cleaning, we go planning flowers tomorrow. But we block come up in this area. No bus stop Tabari.
From Tabari to Orilavi, we block cleaning. We block cleaning so now when we block looking more same this place and clean all the so Pacific game to go home.
The rubbish discharged on the streets ends up in drains and is finally washed into the sea, polluting NCD's marine ecosystem. With only 3 months to go to the games, it's now up to Port Moresby residents to be more responsible. Quinten Alomp, National EMTV News.
Outgoing commanding officer of PNG's Basilisk, Thomas Ponjom, has cautioned the Papua New Guinea Defence Force of a possible brain drain in the Navy. He says maintaining enough manpower was the unit's biggest challenge, as many officers are leaving the Navy. Ponjom added there are not enough seaman officers and technical manpower to crew the ships.
Against the elements, the Navy stood firm to farewell their outgoing commanding officer, Commander Thomas Ponjom, and welcome his successor, Commander Willie Galea. But their naval strength has continuously been tested with an aging manpower. During his term, Commander Ponjom suggested short-term measures to recruit officers and technical sailors from the shipping industry to fill in the gaps. He says the Navy is heading into a crisis situation if these measures are not taken. While the Commander PNG DF Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo impressed in his 2015 intent to meet the 4,000 mark by 2017, it takes time to groom the new recruits to become competent. Since taking office in 2012, Commander Ponjom has focused on restoring command and leadership, supporting the LCH squadron, teamwork and to help rehabilitate the rundown assets of the Navy. His successor, Commander Willie Galea, pledged to carry on from where Commander Ponjom has left. Commander Galea will outline his plans during his first CEO's parade in the next 14 days. Mickey Cavera, National EMTV News.
You're with National EMTV News tonight. We'll be back after the break. Good to have you back with the news. Construction work on the proposed new police station in Lae has commenced and is progressing well. The new police station is being built under the Papua New Guinea Australia Policing Partnership Program. It is one of the major projects under the joint program in Morobe Province.
Since construction work commenced in 2014, contractors are working around the clock to complete the work on this proposed station. The new station is funded through the Policing Partnership Program. Once completed, it will be a 2-story building with more office space for the Lae Metropolitan Command. The partnership program has seen refurbishment to a number of police stations. In Port Moresby, maintenance work was carried out on Hohola and Badili police stations. 2 new buildings were also built at the Boroko police station. The infrastructure developments are welcomed by the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary. They are seen as a facelift for the police department and are expected to boost the performances of police officers in both Port Moresby and Lae. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News, Lae.
The District Development Authority is a homegrown government system based on the experiences of 40 years of service delivery, says Chief Secretary to Government Sir Manasupe Zurinor. These remarks were made at a recent District Development Authority workshop held in Lae on Monday. Sir Manasupe said the authority is the best possible opportunity to build our villages and deliver services. Meanwhile, Secretary for Department of Provincial and Local Level Government, Munare Uyasi, said districts already have the powers to bring services down to the district level. Uyasi said it is about localized, accessible service delivery in short turnaround times. Papa-lealea Primary School in the Central Province is one of 4 schools in the country considered for the WASH, Sanitation and Hygiene WASH Evaluation Survey. Officers from the Australian Development and Effectiveness Office conducted an evaluation today to monitor the school's water, sanitation and hygiene status. EMTV's Eric Harupma has more on this report.
Water sanitation and health wash program is part of Australian government-funded projects in 50 countries around the world.
It's part of a broad strategic evaluation of the Australian aid program, and we're interested in the Australian NGO Cooperation Program. It's a particular program where the Australian government gives money to Australian NGOs, and we ask them to then partner with local NGOs in other countries.
In September 2014, Anglican PNG, in conjunction with the Water PNG and Australian Foreign Affairs Department, launched the WASH program in a number of schools in NCD. With 180,000 kina funding from the Water PNG, Anglican International rolled out the WASH program in Osobey Elementary, Christ the King Primary and Barakau Primary School.
Contributed 10 toya each class, so they could purchase salt for regular washing itself.
This morning, officers from the Australian DFED through the Office of Development Effectiveness carry out the evaluation in the Papa-lealea Primary School. WASH committees comprised of teachers and student representatives who are receiving health lessons and after they practically initiated it. WASH interventions in the school include rainwater catchments or tanks, ventilated pit latrines, and washing buckets and shower room. Students are tasked to clean toilets and soap ends regularly with soap and water after toilet. They also volunteer to fetch water in buckets and contributed 10 toya each to buy soap for students to use after toilet.
This is lunch by giving the
This program was carried out through a WASH management plan, assigning specific tasks for individual committees. Meanwhile, after the project ended last month, the school continues to initiate this program. Eric Arma, National EMTV News.
80% of Nationwide Microbank's customers were previously unbanked, with 65% living in rural areas. That's according to United Nations Capital Development Fund, UN's capital investment agency. However, UNCDF says the financial literacy programs provided by the microbank enables them to know the importance of banking. The people of Gumini district in Simbu province will now participate in similar trainings thanks to a partnership between Gumini district and Nationwide Microbank.
Gumini district is the first district to utilize the MyBank service, where funds can be managed and financial training is provided by the microbank at the same time. The authorities to make funding available for this program was signed by all parties at Parliament House this morning. Following the signing, an initial deposit of 1.6 million kina will be transferred to Nationwide Microbank, formerly the WOW Microbank, to manage for the 45 wards.
In order for us to promote that, to grow economy policy in the country, we thought the best way for us, for our people in Gumini to do, is to grow economy at a micro level, to participate meaningfully, and in so doing, we will allow the people to grow whatever they can grow and look for a market outside of Gumini.
The partnership is part of the rollout program for ward empowerment strategy for Gumini district. Under the arrangement, the members' office will make available funds for the 45 wards in Gumini.
It's quite broad. It covers things like mobile banking, it covers writing business plans, it covers goal-based savings. So there's quite a broad spectrum when we talk about financial literacy and education. But moreover, I think this scheme will extend beyond the wards and to the people in Gumini district and to the wider Chimbu province.
The microbank will only manage the funds and provide training for successful applicants of small businesses. This includes trade stores and businesses for small-scale vegetable and livestock farmers.
Provincial government has established a Chimbu Vegetable Limited, and this is the vehicle that is now providing linkages from the producers to Kundewa, and then they provide the market for us. So currently we have got markets.
After every 6 months, officers from the Nationwide Microbank will go out on site to see for themselves how various businesses are progressing. Apart from accessing the funds and getting the necessary financial literacy training, the people of Gumini will also access other services and loan products offered by the nationwide microbank. Bridget Komatep, National EMTV News.
PNG Datacom Limited is moving to connect PNG to the world through its Melanesia Cable project due to kickstart this month. Chairman Ruben Kautu recently returned from the Solomon Islands, where a joint communique was signed between the governments of PNG and the Solomon Islands. Mr. Kautu is hopeful that the undersea cable will be launched this month and be ready for the 2018 APEC meeting. He said this project will reduce the costs of internet and data transmission and enable faster data connectivity. Papua New Guinea's largest super fund, Number One Super Limited, has declared a healthy profit of 338 million kina from its 2014 annual returns. Board Chairman Anthony Smare, while announcing the profit today, says as a result of the significant growth, the fund declared a 7% credit to its members' accounts.
The chairman says the declaration of 7% crediting rate is a massive boost for its members' savings with Number One Super Limited. He says the crediting rate will be paid into members' accounts, including retirement service accounts for its retired members, while 90 million kina will be reserved as extra money.
We will ensure that through the strategies that we put in place and our vigilance, that we ensure that if there will be any lows, that we will smooth out those lows to ensure that there is still a positive return for the fund.
The chairman declared the 388 million kina profits were a result of profits earned through its effective and disciplined strategy on capital investments.
For sustained results even in good times and bad times, and I'd like to have a more effective engagement strategy with our members, where members in all parts of the country feel that the fund is there to serve them.
Meanwhile, the chairman strongly encouraged the public to develop a savings culture and attitude so that their savings can help them create better future after retirement. Jacob Niru, National EMTV News.
And now we take a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3785 in the interbank market, and at Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.371 $0.4715 Australian dollars, $0.3281 euro, and 45.3 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee and copper closed the day lower, cocoa closed higher, crude oil closed higher, while copper and palm oil closed the day lower. And finally, on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 85 points lower, the ASX closed at 33 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 31 points lower. And National EMTV News continues with more local and international news coming up after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology has been tasked to increase the current 2 to 3% of tertiary student intakes to 17%. Higher Education Minister Malakai Tabar says this will improve the country's human capital development and meet international points of recognition. The remarks were made at the University of Papua New Guinea's student orientation.
To improve our intake, our accessibility.
Mr. Tabar told new intakes of the University of PNG that they were the fortunate 5,600 out of more than 19,000.
We need to increase that to 2 to 3%. To 15–17%. The total number of students in this country who should be in school up to university and colleges should increase from 2 to 3% to 15–17%. That is the biggest challenge that has been given to my department.
Minister Tabar spoke about the mammoth task given to his ministry to increase the intake of tertiary level students. He is also considering the setting of a standard grade point average to allow more student accessibility.
I'm basically demanding a minimum of 2.5 GPA for all the students, and I'm supporting. Anything less is going to basically have difficulties next year, that's what I'm saying.
The minister encouraged a packed auditorium of students to take full advantage of their studies and set high standards of excellence. the student orientation concluded with an official unveiling of UPNG's Golden Jubilee to mark the university's 50-year anniversary.
I, Honorable Malakai Tabar, Member of Parliament and Minister for Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, preside on this occasion, the University of Papua New Guinea, and will now officially launch the University of Papua New Guinea Golden Jubilee 1965 to 2015 celebrations at the University of Papua New Guinea.
The prospect of legalizing prostitution in Papua New Guinea has been shunned by a majority of Christians recently. But yesterday, the Secretary for Justice, Dr. Lawrence Kalinoe, urged the nation to be open-minded and tolerable to the prospect of legalizing prostitution.
See, the choice of whether someone wants to be a prostitute or not, that's a matter entirely for the person. If there are other people with a deviant, sort of a variant way of life, a variant way of religion, that doesn't mean that us Christians will go and take this, deny them of their rights to exercise their rights of religion. Remember, the right in our Constitution is not the right to Christianity. It's a right to religion and freedom. On the part of government, on the part of leadership, our job is to actually create a society that is tolerant. Tolerant of all different views, tolerant of all different ethnicities,